bit disrespected and certainly
100%.
Yeah, they could drop off next year. If Alisson, Trent, Van Dijk and Salah are no more, then they'll definitely miss the kind of generation that we've seen of the last decade, right? But what I will say is that I do believe that with the right signings, Arsenal still have a good squad. So I'm not looking at the group of players and the position of where Arsenal are and thinking another 5-6 years this is going to take, because look at the state of the squad. So that's one thing you can praise the management and the team for. What I don't like is the fact that we've been left short every season. And it's been the main reason as to why we've not been able to get across the line, because injuries every year have been the reason. What does that mean? Does that mean you're unlucky? Potentially, but it means that you haven't learned in the last 2 previous years to say last year it was injuries. Oh, this year it's injuries again. Oh, this year people are saying it's injuries again. Well, why don't we learn and go and actually get squad depth, adequate cover? Because we've got cover, but Sterling isn't adequate cover. We've got cover, but Jesus isn't adequate cover. Neither is Tomiyasu. Neither is the likes now, I'm sorry to say, of some of the players that have come in at the last quick few, like the Zinchenkos, and took us to a level we've now outgrown them. So those are the sort of players I need to see upgrades on. I don't want to see Sterling, Jesus, Zinchenko. I need to see upgrades, proper upgrades. And I want some of those players in the first 11 right now to be some of our squad depth. There's nothing wrong for me with Thomas Partey sitting on the bench. There's nothing wrong with me with Lewis Skelly coming in and out of the team at his age. There's nothing wrong with Ethan Nwaneri being part of the squad now. And there's nothing wrong with Kai Havertz sitting on the bench and being brought on, in my opinion. So that's where I'm at. And I think some of those players need to be looking at themselves now and their futures and thinking, yeah, who wants to stay here long term and who doesn't want him and who do we need to now upgrade upon? And that's where I'm at. So do I think it's been a waste? I don't think it's been a waste, but I think it's definitely been a missed opportunity is the way I would put it, in terms of how we were so close, but it seems yet so far. And certainly this season we've regressed, man. You can't be 13 points behind a manager that's literally just waltzed into Liverpool and gone, this is easy. So that's why I would say it has been a missed opportunity for sure, man.
I think you said a lot of things that touch home, man. Like, it was gospel really listening to that. And I think the key things you said there is whatever happens next year with Liverpool, that's their business. They've had an opportunity. They've taken it. We've had somewhat of a golden 3 years. I know this year's been a bit of a demi downer and whatnot, but we've done a lot of explaining. There's been different contexts. End of the day, we haven't got over the line. A lot of people did say once City fall off, we'd be there to pounce. Liverpool's victory is our defeat in that regard. So we're going to have to kind of hold that. Where do you stand on, because another thing that was going on in my group chat, where do you stand on Mikel Arteta? Not necessarily the manager, but where do you stand on him raising the standards? Because on one hand, I feel he did, Dan, and I feel he doesn't. I feel we're Arsenal Football Club. The standards have always been there. Arsene Wenger was ran out for a lot less than what Arteta in isolation is praised for, right? But he did help rebuild the side, get us back challenging, quote unquote. And as you said there, the question is now getting over the line. So where do you stand on the whole standards thing, and how much does it also play a part? Because when you do question mark the manager, some fans do say, but look where he's got us, look where he's taken us from. So like, where's your point of view with that?
So I'll answer the latter bit first, because I think that's a really good question. Look at where he's taken us. Cool. What do you want me to do? Praise him? Because I've done that. But I want to get across the line. I don't want to look in 10 years' time and go, do you remember that time where we were 8th and then 8th and then 5th and then 2nd for a few years? That was unbelievable. Look where we come. Or am I going to look back and go, do you remember the last 10 years when we won the Champions League and we won that Premier League? So I don't really care about the progression. In 93, we did the cup double against Sheffield Wednesday. Where did we finish that year? We finished 10th. No one cared because we got 2 trophies. We did a cup double, yeah?
Made history.
I'm saying we made history. People look back at that season and go, oh, that was the season they won 2 trophies, right? Yeah, but we come 10th. I don't care, mate. We've won 2 trophies. Yeah. So I'm not saying we should come 10th and win 2 trophies again. My point is, when you win something and get across the line, people remember you for that, which is what George Graham did consistently, what Arsene Wenger did consistently. You know, Arsene Wenger went 9 years and we were like, crikey, 9 years without a trophy. That's unbelievable. I remember there being 7 years, yeah, in my lifetime. And then there's 9 now. It's been 21 without a Premier League trophy, 5 without a trophy. We're halfway through the drought that we had, which was criminal and needed to be sacked for. So
we used to mock Liverpool for with the title challenge. Really and truly.
Time, bro. Big time. I remember being at Highbury thinking, we're going to dominate in the next few years. We've just gone unbeatable. This is unbelievable. We've got an invincible side. We're moving to the Emirates. This is going to be unbelievable. And we were all sold that dream. And if you were to say to me, 21 years, you're not going to win this league, I'd have laughed in your face.
Said you're bugging out, yeah.
I'm saying. And Liverpool would have done the same in 1990 when I said to you, right, you know what I mean? It's going to be COVID when you next win one, 20, 30 years later. Nah, rubbish.
You said, what's COVID, to be fair?
That's true. So when I look at it now, I feel like it's about winning and he has to deliver. Where am I at this season? Personally, I would replace him in the summer if we don't win the Champions League. That's the only thing we can win, right? People think that's harsh. Let's now revert back to the summer. Most Arsenal fans were saying we have to deliver this season, otherwise he has to go and we have to pay someone.
100%.
Right now, all of a sudden, the goalposts are moved because we've had some injuries and some red cards and VAR decisions. I do not understand that at all. Yeah, because there has been injuries last season that Liverpool had. There was no injuries that Arsenal had, but we didn't win the league then. So Liverpool, they were in a position last season where they looked at injuries and they were like, wow, we've really fallen off. We've crumbled here. They didn't go, it was injuries. What do you mean? Keep going. Another year.
Winners win and losers explain, man.
They still won a trophy last year, by the way. Yeah. So when I look at it, I think let's actually look at the opportunity that Arteta has had here with £700 million plus spent, 5 years in the job with no pressure whatsoever on him. And in the first 4, I would say there was absolutely zero pressure until the last year. This is the only time he's been under pressure. Because if you believe that he overachieved with that team that was supposed to get top 4 that actually went into a title race and did achieve top 4, I think you'll say fair play. But since then, I think once you get to an expectation change of, right, now we're ready to win the title.
He's dying by the high standards he set, by that logic that some fans say.
Well, bro, not only is that facts, he has come out on the Emirates pitch with a microphone at the end of last season and said, do not be satisfied with second. And now when we're not satisfied with second, you're toxic and you're negative. Sorry, man. I thought we were winning the league this year. That's what people told me. Yeah. I kept saying, I don't think we're good. Oh, you're crazy, Dan. This is the year, man. Look at Man City. They've dropped off. Don't let Liverpool win it then. Don't let Liverpool win it because we've massively failed. And I think the summer was bad. I think the January was bad. And I don't think that's all down to Mikel Arteta. I've got my problems with the ownership and the board, and I'm sure we'll talk about that. But for me,
yeah, we're going to get into that, man. Hold fire on that, man. I know that's going to set you off.
Yeah, it will set me off when you ask me that. But for me, with the Arteta situation right now, I would replace him in the summer, but I know he's not going to be. So what we have to do now is get the summer right. And you know what, DG, we'll go into this more, I'm sure. He needs to get that striker right, man, because we cannot buy a striker and be in March, April when he's on 7 goals. Yeah, this guy needs to take us to the next level, whatever this signing is. So that's where I'm at with him, man. I think he's going to get more time. I don't think he deserves it. I think he's very lucky. I don't know many managers at a level of an elite club like Arsenal that would still be in this position. I don't think there'd be a Bayern Munich manager, a Real Madrid manager, a Barcelona manager, perhaps even a Manchester United or Chelsea manager that'd still be in the job doing what we've done. So that's why I raise the standards. But not a lot of the fan base do. They're happy. Second's all good. We just go again. Oh, we've been injuries again. And it's a bad summer. It's not his fault. Give him another summer. Oh, the VAR's come out again. Injuries again. And this is the problem. How long do we go without actually winning
people, man? This is
what I'm saying. So if we've got this 5-year period, right, and I say he's won an FA Cup, wow, that's pretty impressive, to be fair. He's waltzed in there. Oh, Christ, we didn't get top 4. But you know what? He won a bloody League Cup. How's he done that? Next year, God, we've gone for a title here, people. We've picked up another FA Cup. How the hell is this guy doing this? I'll be like, do you know what? I'm happy at the moment because we're progressing and we're winning trophies. We're competing and we're winning trophies. That's why Ten Hag didn't last, bruv, because we wasn't competing and we won trophies, which goes back to the 93. The reason we were under pressure under George Graham that time is because, yeah, we won trophies, but we weren't competing. So the trophies were at the bare minimum. Now, we're not even getting the bare trophies. We're not even getting the Carabao Cups and the FA Cups now. It's been 5 years. We didn't win the Europa League under Mikel Arteta. We haven't won the Champions League or Premier League yet under Mikel Arteta. So the pressure is on, man. And even those that do believe in him still, I know for a fact are going to have to look next summer. And if we're in this time next year and we're in a similar position out of everything, looking likely not to win a trophy, I don't see how he stays after that. I really don't.
I think you're bang on the money, man. I think for me personally, I think I would have done, and myself and many people in the chat actually as honest fans, you know, you give the man his praise where due, you criticize him where due, kind of what Dan's alluding to. Beyond the fact that it's Arsenal Football Club and we want to win trophies and all of that kind of stuff, just based off what the man has said, you know, when fans want to say we've been the best team since 2024 and this, that, and the other, the manager doesn't say that. He says the reality is we want to win trophies. And of course, why would you not want it to work with Mikel Arteta? Why would you not want him to get over the line, or anyone that's connected to the team? There's a couple players I don't rate in this Arsenal team, but I hope they perform to the best of their standards. They play for our football club. But at the end of the day, it does feel, and I'd love to know your thoughts, Dan, because for me, I do think Arteta is a good coach. Where I agree with you is it's just about getting over the line. You've got us to a point. It does feel like for the people that are Mikel Arteta apologists or Arteta sexuals, it does feel like they're always talking about we're set up to dominate English football for a while. Mikel Arteta, the project's going to go bang. Do you think it's a fallacy that any club, let alone Arsenal, could dominate the Premier League? I know we've seen City do it, obviously because of their owners and Pep, but do you think it's a fantasy, really? Because you could argue that in these last 3 years, we could have won the league every year, to be fair.
The aim is to dominate. in England. Manchester United did it under Sir Alex Ferguson. In the last decade, Pep Guardiola has done it. If I'm honest with you, in the last 2 decades, Roma's probably done it with Chelsea as well, right? And when I mean dominate, I don't mean you win the league for 10 years running, right? I mean you win trophies in that decade. Yeah, just like Chelsea have done. There's no coincidence that the most successful 2 clubs in the last 2 decades have been with Pep Guardiola's Manchester City and Roman's Chelsea, right? And the way they've done that is by spending money, just like Arsenal have done. Yeah, we've actually spent more than Manchester City in the last 5 years since Arteta's been here. And you have the mentality and the ruthlessness to win. Now, if that means you have to keep changing managers, I actually don't care, because I don't have a absolute love for the longevity of a manager. To me, the manager should only be there if he deserves to be there.
Do you think we need to get away from that as Arsenal fans as well? Sorry to cut you, because that's actually, I think we get caught in this long-termism of managers and players.
Yes, 100%, bro. I feel like there are certain individuals at the moment that are more important about building a CV for Mikel Arteta than they are their club winning. And that is a
fact
statement. And I look at it and I think, well, we are Arteta
$1,000,000%,
or are we Arsenal FC? Because I look at what Arteta has done in 5 years and I think it's quite respectable, to be honest with you. I don't look at his job and think it's been an absolute clown. I don't look at him
over the line thing.
I don't look at him and go, wow, you're useless, mate. There's been worse managers than Mikel Arteta at Arsenal over the years, in my opinion. However, can he get us across the line? And he is in his first job. And let's be real, it's incredible for what he's doing for his first job. I'll say that. And I mean that when I say that. I never thought he'd come over Arsenal and take us into a challenging position in his first ever job. But there is a but. We need to be looking at how we win trophies. And it is important that we are successful.
Bottom line.
There's always the pro Artetas, the against Artetas, the in the middles that say he's got to win now. There's not one Arsenal fan that says, nah, Arteta, you think he's ready to win now? No chance. Arteta, he shouldn't be winning now. Look at him. He's just
look at our team. No. We should be winning.
Man. This team is good enough to win a trophy. It might not be good enough to win a Premier League and a Champions League together. It might not be good enough to win one of those. It's good enough to win a League Cup or FA Cup.
At least consistent finals, which I'm not happy to be in a final for the sake of it, but we're not getting to those kind of stages. No, we're not flirting with success.
We're not even getting to Wembley, bro, for a Carabao Cup.
See what I'm saying? And that's our stadium.
That's our stadium, 14 FA Cups. Come on, man. Really? That's our trophy. And since he's won it, he's thrown them all in the bin. We've only won 2. Since he won in 2020, you know how many FA Cup games we've won? 2.
Nottingham Forest have dealt with us a couple of times.
That is just disgraceful. Yes, okay, we had Man City and it was hard. We had Liverpool, it was hard. We had United, it was hard. But that means we've only won against Oxford. And I think there's one more that I can't even think right now that we've won in the FA Cup.
That's not on.
That is a disgrace, bro. And in the League Cups, we've gone out to teams that we really shouldn't be going out to. I like Newcastle, but we shouldn't be losing to Newcastle over 2 legs. I'm a big fan of what Brighton are doing as a football club, but we shouldn't be going out to Brighton. Yeah, we've gone out to Nottingham Forest, Southampton in the FA Cups. We shouldn't be going out to those teams. So exactly. I look at that now and think,
not as frequent as it's been happening at the very least.
Yeah, it's let us down. And then you look at his cup history in the Europa League. The Champions League, we've only just got back into it. We'll see what we do this year. Last year, we were unfortunate to go out to Bayern Munich, but we kind of crumbled in the second leg. And in the first kind of 3 seasons, he wasn't in Europe for one of them, but he went out to Olympiacos, Villarreal, and Sporting Lisbon.
On pens as well, yeah. And the damage was done in the first leg in Portugal, for me anyways. I remember that game vividly.
Most of the damage was done in the first legs. Away from home, his record is not great in Europe, if I'm honest with you. I appreciate what he did against PSV. I appreciate what he's done away this season in the new format against teams like Girona. But when I look at it right now, realistically, lost at Inter Milan, lost against Porto, poor against Sporting Lisbon away, as you said, poor against Bayern Munich away, poor against Olympiacos in 2
out there against Atalanta, really.
Villarreal. Come on, man. Like, he's got to do better in these cup competitions, DG.
I think you're bang on the money, and that's my thing with Arteta. I think you're a good coach. I take my, like what you said, I take my hat off to all the things you've done good and whatnot. And regardless, actually, I'm at the point now whether I think everything's on Arteta, nothing's on Arteta. Whatever you've done, good or bad, we've got ourselves to this point now where we're second. There is a good base. We've got players that will walk into teams all across the world and whatnot. Now it's just about getting over the line. I personally feel when a lot of people, more the Arteta sexuals, you can't big him up, say he's the best manager in the league, the project's going to do this, that, the third. And then when it goes left, not hold him to high standards, which Wenger, Sir Alex Ferguson, all the good managers were held to those standards. It doesn't make sense. It feels a bit like a cult, if I'm completely honest. As I said, I think he is a good coach, but I think some people, like you kind of alluded to, are more loyal to Arteta succeeding at Arsenal versus Arsenal. Like the Arteta sections were very quiet this week. We got a little 7-1 victory over PSV, which I like, and it's imagine sacking the manager rather than firstly being happy that your team won, that Arsenal are still have some chance of winning the Champions League. It's this "I told you so" kind of thing, which jars me. I want to ask you about this, yeah. Like, what do you feel? I'd assume next season, regardless what happens in the market, it'll be our 4th year trying to win the title, right? What do you feel like? Is there any concerns on that? Like, where do you think the players will be at mentally, and where do you think the project is going for the likes of Salibas and Sakas and all of these kind of guys? Because I honestly feel the players might, if anyone's felt like they've been sold a dream, bro, it'd be the fans, and then I feel the players. But where do you be with that?
Look, the pressure is on Mikel Arteta, but the pressure is also on for us to win something as a club so that we can keep our best players. Now, I don't really have any concerns for Saka, if I'm honest with you. One, there's nobody really flirting with him, and two, he's a proper Arsenal lad. However, I've said that before. Fabregas won't go anywhere. He's already said Barcelona and Arsenal, only 2 clubs for him. Van Persie, he'll never go to another English club. Sanchez is happy at Arsenal. Mesut Ozil's happy here. Aubameyang's happy here. We've said it all before. All of them have ended up leaving, right? So I said right at the start of this project that I was worried about another youth project because I felt like we'd already done 2 and failed. Fabregas and Van Persie was 1. We had Sanchez, Ozil, and then Wilshire's and Ramsey's and Oxlade-Chamberlain's and all this, and they all ended up leaving, winning nothing other than a handful of FA Cups, right?
Which we take now, to be fair.
Which we would take now. Yeah, we would take now, 100%. But is that enough to keep these guys happy? Because it wasn't for those, man. So I look at Saliba, and I think we're okay this summer, but I think next summer could be a massive issue if we don't win something. If we're in this
year
scenario,
left next summer.
Well, if we're in this scenario next summer, I think we're in serious trouble with a few of them. Because Saliba and Gabriel are on the same length of deal, as is Martinelli, but some people are saying, it's not the issue with him, but I like him. Saka as well. We've got to get these guys tied down, man. If this sporting director does come in, that's a brilliant first start. But we need to now before we start bringing people in, keeping the players of what we've got
Steadying the ship.
Man, we got to steady this ship because there's a lot of them that are looking, thinking, yeah, when are we going to win something then? Because I was promised this was going to be a process that ended up in winning, not just getting.
But the Madrid French boys flirting with Saliba every day, probably.
Brother, which is why I think the signings are even more important this summer for that reason as well. Because if Saliba's like, right, okay, well, I can go play with Vinny and Mbappe and Jude, what are you giving me? Because I'm happy with Saka and co, but what else are you giving me? You're giving me a Sesko? You're giving me a Jonathan David up top? Is that what you believe we're good enough for it? Or are you going to go get me an Isak? You're going to go bring in a alongside Morgan Rogers. You're going to go and bring in a left winger that looks like it's going to be an elite level. Or are you just going to go and get the bare minimum? And that's what Saliba will be thinking. Because I'm sure Saliba looks at his team every day and thinks, right, let's line up. I've got this goalkeeper behind me, which looks decent. I've got my best mate in Gabriel alongside me. We're wicked. I'm a big fan of Ben or Timber. And over the left, Lewis Skelly looks like he's here for the future. And then I look in front of me and I've got Thomas Partey, who's been there and done it. I've got Declan Rice, who's 100 million. Erdogan's my captain and my leader. And my, there's question marks over that. But as far as Saliba's where it is, then we've got Saka on the right. And then what? I've got Sterling and Marino. What's happening there then?
Yeah.
There's got to be something there, man.